Hello and welcome to Turan IS. My name is Swanand Parasa. Today I am starting a new course on modern history for civil service examination, which is also known as IAS exam. So, syllabus starts from the mid of 18th century for mains, and for prelims, syllabus in history is not defined. So they ask from the ancient history, they ask from the medieval history, they ask from the modern history. But in the mains examination, it starts from the mid of 18th century. But today I'm starting from the entry of Europeans, so it is way before the mid of 18th century, and the reason behind it that it's important to know it. We will briefly discuss it from the 16th century to mid of 18th century. We will quickly go to that to understand that how actually the British reached to that level that they were playing the crucial role in the Battle of Plassey, from which the syllabus starts, and the questions are being asked in the prelims also from that part. So that's why we are starting from the beginning of modern history. We are beginning with the beginning of modern history. So now, what is the beginning of modern history? Which are the events which is termed as that they led to a beginning of new era in the history, especially in the Europe. So one of the first event which is told by the historians is the colonization of Americas by the Christopher Columbus in 1492. And why did it do? Why did he go to the Americas to? And the reason behind it that at the time the Constantine pole, it was captured, which actually used to connect the Europe to the Asia. It was captured by Ottoman Turk Empire. Before him, it was being ruled by the Mongol Empire, which was established by the Genghis Khan. So this Central Asia and then further Asia and then in East Asia, they were actually connected to Europe through this Constantine port. And there was a trade between the Europe and the East Asia and the Asia, like Asia, Indian subcontinent, China, and the Central Asia. But after the capture of this, he declined Europeans to trade directly to India. He imposed a lot of taxes on that. So trade with the India became very difficult. It was very costly for the Europeans. So what happened? They tried to find the new direct sea route to India so that they can have the profitable trade with India. So this is termed as a very big important event which led to the modern history. Actually, what happened after this Constantine pole, I'll discuss this also, that the thinkers who were residing here in the Greek, they moved towards this Italy, and they started a Renaissance. Actually, this is what said that these thinkers migrated from the Greece to Italy, and then the Renaissance started. And Renaissance means that I told you that it is the new thinking in all spheres of life, whether it's architecture, literature, philosophy, and the science also. They invested in science, Europeans, and it led to the age of discovery. Age of discovery means they tried to find India basically, but they found other regions as well. And one of them was the Americas by the Columbus in 1492. And Columbus thought initially that he landed in India. That's why they are called the West Indies. Those areas, Central America islands are called the West Indies because Columbus thought they were Indians. And even while we are studying the American Revolution in the world history, you see the term the Red Indians. So it actually continued for a very long time. They called the indigenous people Indians there for a very long time. So in sequence of finding the new places, there was Vasco da Gama who reached to India in 1498 and he landed in Kerala, in Calicut, in Kerala. And what was his route? You can see this is the Portugal. Vasco da Gama was Portuguese, and Columbus was patronized by Spain. He was not Spanish. He was Italian actually, and this Vasco da Gama was Portuguese. And there is a small story about Columbus that he actually persuaded the Spanish king for a very long time, and he convinced him that there's a shorter route to India if we go to the west side. And many were against it, but he convinced somehow the king of Spain, and he actually went to western side. And it led to a lot of things. Actually, it is generally known as the beginning of the globalization also, because it led to a lot of trade between the Americas, later North America also, South America, Central America, and the Europe. And there was a, it is known as the Columbian Exchange, because there was a, not only the trade in the goods, but also it led to the disease in the Central Americas. The diseases which were not known to the indigenous people, then it led to a lot of people were died actually due to the diseases also there, and a lot of people were actually killed by Columbus in order to control those people. Those people very primitive kind of people. They didn't have advanced weapons like these people, these Europeans, and that was the main reason actually that Europeans were able to control all world, because in the whole world that there were mostly tribal people there. The indigenous people were not so much advanced, and in India also, the rulers did not give any. They did not pay anything to the, they did not pay any attention to the building the army or they advancing their army. They didn't have the navies at the time, while the Europeans had very strong navy at the time. So these were the reasons actually that it led to the colonization of whole world by the Europeans. Now let's come back to the Portuguese. We are here discussing the Portuguese in India. So reason was that they wanted to find the sea route, and why? Because the this Constantinople was captured by the Ottoman Empire, and he landed in the Kerala in 1498. And the route was followed by Vasco da Gama was that he started from the Lisbon. It is written in the Portuguese Lisbon, and he actually went around the this Saint Helena and this Africa, and from here he landed here in Calcutta. So this was his route. Now, when he landed, it was being ruled by the Jamorin. He was called the Samutri Raja. He got initially permission to trade, but later, all Europeans used to do is actually they will first get the permission to trade, then they will ask to retain the army to protect their trade, and then to keep the army to build the forts. And later, when they have their port and their army in the foreign territories, they will actually intervene in the internal affairs of that territory, because if two rajas are fighting, then they will support one raja out of two, and then they will get concession for supporting that raja in particular war. So same thing was followed by Portuguese here. And in second time when he came 1502, this he came actually after 3 months. He went back Vasco da Gama, but he came back again in 1502, and that time he wanted Jamorin to he wanted Jamorin not to allow the Arabians at the time, because Arabians were the main traders at the time. But he didn't accept this, and it led to a fight between the Jamorin and the Portuguese. And but initially they didn't get much success. But later, when the Francisco de Almeida came, he defeated the Jamorin actually, and then he got the permission to not only trade but have the territory under his Portuguese rule. And later, the most important name is this Albuquerque, that he's known to have established the Portuguese rule in India, that he captured the city of Goa from the Sultan of Bijapur in 1510. And there was in between there was many wars also, and one of the important is that they captured Mangalore in 1526, and they fought the Battle of Cannanore also, in which they defeated the Gujarat army also, and so this is how they actually ruled the whole western. You can see the western coast, right? Gradually, they actually captured the Diu and Daman, Nagar Haveli, and these Bombay Island also, Baseen also, and this was known as the northern territory for them, Portuguese, and this is also called the southern. And Goa was actually main center for them. Okay, and on the eastern side, they got the Pulicat and the Masulipatam, and then the Hooghly later, and Chittagong. These were the trading center for them. They had the factories there, they had the armies there, and they had the forts at some of these places. Goa became the main center for them. Actually, after 1600, so for 100 years, They benefited from this trade heavily, and later the other Europeans also came to know about this direct sea route, and so other also wanted to get benefit from this route. And the British and the French actually they started in the 1600 and 1602. They established their India Company, East India Company of Britain, and the name initially name was different, and the East India Company of French East India Company and the Dutch East India Company. Sorry, French 1602, Dutch, not French. I apologize for that. Dutch started earlier than the French. French started very late. Dutch and the English they started after 100 years of the Portuguese. Fine. Now we will discuss the Portuguese rule here in India. What kind of rule they had in India? What were their policies? So socially, they actually wanted a progressive society. So they abolished the sati in their territory, the region where they were ruling. They abolished the sati, and they introduced many different like the tobacco, cashew nut, and other thing as well. And they married with the Indian women. They didn't come here only to get benefited from the trade. They also wanted to settle themselves in foreign lands. So they actually married to Indian women. They had this policy to marry with Indian women. There can be one question that whether it is right or wrong. One option can be given, then you have to mark it whether it's right or wrong. One, two, three in that. Okay, and they had this policy of missionary policy also. They didn't come only for trade, but they also came for converting the people religiously, right? They wanted to spread their Christian religion. So they try to convert not only the common people but also the ruler. They thought that if they convert the ruler, then obviously it will follow the common people, right? So they try to convert the Muslim rulers right from the Jahangir to Shahjahan. But when the Aurangzeb became the ruler in here in the India, then it became obviously very difficult for them to convert people, right? But they try to convert the Akbar, and during the Jahangir actually there was a baptism also. There are many facts like this, but those facts are not so important for exam. However, you can read them from the book. Fine. So I'm just telling you that what kind of rule they had, right? And the important thing you have to keep in this mind. This generally the question is always about him, this guy, Albuquerque. He was the main viceroy because of which the Portuguese were able to establish themselves here in India for such a long time. And they were the first and the last to leave. The first to come and last to leave. It is an important fact. Generally, it is being asked in objective questions, right? So now, what were the reasons behind their decline in India? Why were they not able to control the whole India like the Britishers did? That the one of the big reason is that they discovered the Brazil, which was more beneficial for them. They were getting a lot of revenues from the Brazil, uh, so it was also that their little bit attention diverted to Brazil. Then they were not the honest people. Actually, their practices were very dishonest, and they were known as the pirates. Actually, from the Hooghly, see this Hooghly, it worked for them as a base for doing the piracy. Yes, they were pirates also. They will loot the any ship of other country, for example, the Dutch people or Britishers, later Britishers, and even the Indian ships of Indian rulers. So they antagonized the Indian rulers many times, not just once, but many times. And their religious policy were also a big reason that they were not like with the rulers, right? Especially the Muslim rulers. There was an incident that when they actually captured the two Muslim women of the who were related to the Mumtaz Mahal actually, and it became a reason for their removal. They are demolished here in the Bengal. The Mughal army actually demolished them here in Bengal because they took those girls and made the slave them. They were not so good people actually in terms of if you judge them from today's morals. Obviously, no empire was good for the humanity at the time. And then on the western side, there was rise of Marathas in the 18th century, especially in 18th century. They lost the main center, Bassein. Here, this Bassein, it was very main center for them. They lost to Marathas, And this knowledge to sea route was not limited to only them. It was after 100 years, it was known to the Britishers, Dutch, French, everyone. So it became very competitive for them to stay alive there, to have more say in India, and they were fighting wars at home. While it was not the case with the Britain, it is the main reason actually. The Britain being the island, it's the geography. British geography is very, very, very big reason for them to have control all over the world. They had such a large empire because of they were not engaged in the internal wars of Europe. Europe has a lot of wars actually. During the Napoleon Wars, Europe actually was ransacked by Napoleon. So at the time, the British were easily able to keep their army, they keep their navy strong, while others were fighting them with themselves. So this how the geography decides the history. It is very important. So these were the reasons that the Portuguese rule was not so strong in India. And then we will discuss the Dutch. We will discuss them very briefly because they are not so important for us. They formed the United East India Company of Netherlands in 1602. First, they had the factory in the Masulipatam, right? And after that, they had actually these all the factories of each country are given in this map, but we are just discussing here the Dutch factory, the Pulicat. They also had the Pulicat. You don't have to remember them. Only the Masulipatam you can keep in mind, otherwise you don't need to remember. Important thing is that the reason why they were not able to rule over India, this is just important thing you have to keep in mind, that because Anglo-Dutch rivalry, they fought 4 wars between them. There were 4 Anglo-Dutch wars, and in that the English people actually were victorious, and they had this treaty between them in 1667 that they decided that British will leave the Indonesia, which was also called the Spice Island, Indonesia Spice Island. It will remain under the Dutch people, and in India, this Dutch people will not interfere, right? So this treaty became the reason that they never actually had a foothold in India, strong foothold in India. However, they kept trading with India, but they did not have the territorial aspirations after this 1667. So the about Dutch, you just need to know that they also came very early in 1602. Masulipatam, Cochin, not so important, no need to remember it. But because of this treaty, 1667, because we will read it when we are reading it, we will use it when we are reading the British Empire actually in detail. So this is what we have learned today, and that how Portuguese were the main reason of Europeans coming to India, and what was the reason that they came to India, and then the Dutch people. These just 2 things we are reading. If you want to know more, then you can read from the book. I'll suggest you that always students are asking, sir, which book we should follow. I'll tell you that just follow the spectrum, because syllabus is very used for history, and if you go through many books, then you won't able to retain anything. And obviously this book Spectrum by Rajiv Vahid sir is actually in the form of notes, right? But still it's very bulky book. You have to read many times to retain everything, but it is sufficient for this exam. It is sufficient. And if you look at the question paper of mains, you will find that the questions are not directly being asked. Their questions are not direct questions. They ask that question which has some relation with the current affair also. In history, yeah, we try to connect few things, right? So it's easy, it's not difficult. If you study by looking at the previous year question paper, always keep the syllabus and the question paper on your table while you're studying, and keep looking at, especially initially when you're starting your preparation in the first year and second year. In first year, you need to look at the syllabus and the previous year question paper daily. Make it a habit. Only then you will keep yourself focused, right? You will study only what is important. You will not study anything which is not important for this exam. Generally what I've seen, that the people are studying a lot of crap, and then once they have studied this crap, they think that they have to revise it. Yes, I've seen people, and now they have studied the crap once, they have already wasted their time, then they are wasting time again, because they think that okay, they have already studied once, and why not to study it again? But no, focus study is very important, and always keep in mind that you have to clear this exam. Your purpose is not to do PhD. Your purpose is not to become highly knowledgeable or show your knowledge, or no, your purpose is to clear this exam. So always go back to the previous year question papers. You will find that that syllabus is not so, they are similar. There is a pattern in the prelims. There is a pattern. I don't know why people study so much thing. They just go to the so many things, and they never look at the previous year question papers. They just do the question papers at least twice and thrice for prelims and mains. You will find it very easy to clear this exam. It's not so difficult. So I'll make another video later. Okay, till then, bye bye. Thank you.